All right, everybody. It's season 2 of Honey Jam. Welcome back.
Woohoo!
Okay, like we promised, we are bringing in guests of season 2. Jess, are you excited?
I'm super excited. We're starting off strong.
We are. Our very first guest is none but other my husband, new influencer, major chef. The list goes on. Sexy man, Mr. David S. Jeong.
Woohoo!
Hello.
Welcome to the pod.
None but others, she said. Just wanted to point that one out.
What is it? What is it supposed to be?
None but other than me, David Jeong.
None
I
other
think you
than?
added one
Yeah.
conjunction that wasn't required.
Yes.
None but other Honey Jam podcast. Thanks for having me.
We are off to a strong start. David Jeong just right off the bat making fun of my English.
It's been 2 weeks, so my bad. That's my fault for
No.
Janice's grammatical mistake.
That is not your bad. That is literally our daily life. Wouldn't you say so, David?
Yeah. If not daily, then at least like 5 times a week, actually.
Yeah. No, wait. That's like me and Josh too. Josh always goes, "Wait, what? What did you say?"
He fixes your
points out
English?
my semantics, my vocabulary choices.
Oh.
He always goes, Do you even know what that means?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I panic.
From an English major.
Well, I'm a phony English major, but we'll get into that later. Anyways, continue.
David, you want to talk a little bit about yourself? Do you want to introduce yourself really quick for those of our listeners who might not know who the heck you are?
I am the husband that lets my wife take the spotlight. So I don't need much of an introduction. I just, I'm quiet. I'm in the background and Janice is the loud one.
That's true.
That's it.
I will say, though, David has been taking the spotlight these days.
Oh?
In my humble opinion.
How do you mean, Jess?
Janice, are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous. I think I'm a little nervous.
On my side, Janice is really blurry on my video. So it's like a bunch of pixels, but I still see her face turning just bright tomato red.
Wow, now that you say, she does look very, very red.
I get red every single week on this podcast. I just get a little bit nervous, we gotta keep continuing to record and I'll get used to it.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but I was saying David has been in the spotlight because his content game, his IG, his TikTok game, his creator game has been strong. David, can you share how many followers you have right now?
You should ask Janice. She checks it every morning and congratulates me for every tiny milestone. Janice?
Wait, that's so sweet.
He has approximately 18.2 thousand followers at the moment on Instagram, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. And if you know,
it is crazy.
Like David said, I usually take the spotlight, but somehow he has surpassed my following count by many more. And now David is the influencer in the family. And you know what? I'm not really complaining much about riding his coattails. It's actually kind of fun.
Good one. Good expression. Did you recently get gifted too by a company?
Yeah.
By many companies?
A bunch of free stuff. Yeah. I got, Staub, the Dutch oven company.
Yes.
They were like a bucket list collaboration kind of brand. I just loved their stuff.
Wow.
But then I think they reached out to me first before anybody else. And it was when I didn't have that many. I had like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers or followers at the time.
Yeah.
And they just reached out because I cooked a lot of my early videos using Janice's Staub that I think you guys gifted her, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, well, you made the 된장찌개 and kimchi-jjigae in it, right? Are those the videos?
Yeah. So, so they saw that. They saw those, and then they just emailed me, and they said, "Hey, thanks for using our products. We want to send you some goodies, but also if there's anything that you want to try out, let us know." And so I'm a Staub fanboy. I just sent them a big list of everything that I've wanted or had my eye on, expecting them to just pick one. but they sent me the whole list. So they sent me like 3 Dutch ovens and a dinnerware set and a block of a new knife set too from their parent company, Zwilling. Yeah, it was just pure gift. But I'm going to use their stuff for my videos.
Let's take a step back. What made you step into this creative journey? I know, obviously I know because you're my husband, but people know that you've always been creative, kind of mysterious, cool guy. So like, what made you decide, okay, you know what? I'm going to step in front of the camera and do this thing.
And also just to like piggyback off of that, like David, as long as I've like known him, like he seems kind of like very mutuktuke to me. Like a very serious guy. I mean, like once you get to know him, he's like super funny and like in his like comfortable circle, he's like, the Insta guy that we know.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, like I didn't expect you of all people to kind of like take that journey to like you're putting yourself out there and like making content. So like what made you kind of like take that step?
Yeah. I think dang, well, are we getting real serious on here? Like am I talking about the serious reasons?
This is how I built this, David.
No. It's going to be like that. I don't want this episode to be like that.
This is how the conversation will go however we want.
We're genuinely curious.
I think people want to know.
Okay.
I mean, at least our friends want to know how the heck David Jeong has suddenly 18.2 thousand followers on Instagram. I think it's a pretty big deal.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, in terms of why I have that many followers, I don't know either. I always tell like my friends when I'm convincing them to join me in the content creation journey that anyone can do it. I just happened to get lucky early on, and my stuff, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah, I think anybody can do it. But why I started first is because, well, Janice and I have been trying to have a baby. Are we talking about this?
Just
okay,
do
we'll
it.
Talk about
we can do it.
A brief.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
Okay, we've been trying to have a baby for like 2.5 years.
And
Janice was saying that like
already
looking back at the past 2 years, we did do a lot of stuff. We traveled and got new jobs and things like that, or I got a new job. But in terms of like doing things outside of work, it kind of just felt like we were waiting for a baby. And looking back, it's just like 2022, 2023, it's just like we were trying for a baby unsuccessfully, doing IUI or hospital visits or whatever. And so basically Janice first started with making videos, because what happened was she had like a really chill season of work, and she started like complaining to me that I didn't love her anymore. Like I wasn't spending time with her. But basically what it was I was busy at work and she was not. And we were both working remote at the time. So at home, Janice was just like lonely and bored basically. And so she would just be in her thoughts and wondering like why I'm working so much and not spending time with her. And so when she was bringing all those things up, I was like, you know what, Janice, I think you just need to find a new job, dude. Like you have too much time. And then that just like, whoop, it shut her up right there. And she was like, oh, no, actually, I'm good. I'm good.
Like, oh, never mind.
I know you.
Never mind. No.
Yep. I know you love me. It's good. We're good now. Let me just take that all back. But, we continued the conversation later. And Janice has always wanted to do content creation. She's like a super, perfect entertainer type. And so she started making videos. And I was also kind of bored at the time. Like living in the Valley, we go down to OC to visit friends. We have some friends in the Valley here now too. But I just want to join her too because I have a ton of hobbies. I like to do too many things. I'm one of those guys. I have a ton of hobbies, and so I was just like, all right, you know what? I really like food and stuff, so let me just post some videos. So I just started posting pizza videos. It just went from there.
He's a jack of all trades.
Yeah. We booked our Mammoth Airbnb when I still had a job. And then so my original plan was to do, pizza videos and then, just share some stuff as I prepare for my month-long backpacking or it wasn't a backpacking trip, but it was like cabin and then backpacking on the weekends. So I was originally going to do something like that too. But yeah, I forget who it was. If it was Janice, it might have been Janice who like convinced me to do my first voiceover.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was me.
Yeah, so
take the credit, dude.
So yeah, I mean, I did my first voiceover. I would say the first 5 voiceovers, I was just so scared to post because I didn't want to be cringe.
I remember this, yes.
Yeah. Anytime Jess would ask me, or like she would say a compliment about my video or comment, I would like message her on the side and be like, dude, am I cringe? Please tell me I'm not cringe. Well, tell me I am if I am. Yeah, it was really weird putting myself out there like that, but you know, it is what it is.
Wow. There's so much to unpack here right now. But I will say, this is so funny, like the 3 of us coming together to talk about this stuff, because actually Jess is the one, and I'm just going way back, but Jess and Josh, Jess's husband and Jess are the ones who really introduced me and David together. So this is a full circle moment, and I'm really glad that we're doing this.
This is really cool. It takes me back to when like we hung out in your early dating days, like when we did like Pokemon Go and went to Jimjirbang.
Oh yeah, the Pokemon Go story we have to talk about today.
Here's the story, okay? So David, at this point, David and I were dating, and like for some reason, it was like late at night, and this was when Pokemon Go was like the craze. Everybody was playing it, and Jessica was especially like passionate about it at the time. I wasn't too crazy about it, but like somehow we all went together to Newport Beach, and then David suggested, you know, we play Pokemon Go. And so I said, okay, I mean, I don't really play, but I'll join you guys. And when we went, David and Jess were just like having the time of their lives catching these Pokemon, these fake Pokemon creatures, like at the beach. And I'm just like, you know, tagging along. I don't want to be a party pooper, so I was just pretending like, you know, it was fun and stuff like that. But deep inside, actually, it was not fun for me, and I didn't understand. And for a second, I was like David and Jess are having like a lot of fun, like 둘이서, just the 2 of them. And I started to get like FOMO and like jealous. And I was like, what about me? You know, I didn't feel like I was being like taken care of. But it's funny because Jess and David had no idea, and I couldn't confess these feelings until like way later because I felt so petty.
Yeah. I think it was one of those things where like, you know, there's the radar on your phone and you could see that there's some Pokemon over there. So Jess and I like ran towards the pier, and Janice was just like stuck behind because she didn't know what was going on. Just sad by herself, like, oh man.
I was having so much fun that like I thought everybody was having fun, including you.
No, dude, you guys were having the time of your life, so I really just, you know, I didn't want to like be a Debbie Downer, so I faked it like I was having fun with you guys. But
dude, you know though, Janice is kind of like that. She hides her feelings very well sometimes. And you can't tell what she's thinking, and she kind of confesses it later on. Have you had those moments with her, David, where you're like, wait, what?
Every day.
It's because she's quite an actress, that's why.
Or I'm just fake.
No, you know, it all stems from the childhood, the home, the upbringing. There's a reason for it all. But yeah, I mean, Janice is always, you know, first daughter, trying to hold it together for the family and acting like everything's okay at all times. Until you pry it out of her, you know?
Yeah.
This is a very hot topic between me and David, like all the time. But I always thought like, growing up, you know, I had such a great childhood, like grew up with a happy, comfortable environment. Whereas David, he grew up in a very different environment. You know, he had to kind of fend for himself. He worked part-time jobs ever since he was like, how old? Like very young.
Well, no, my first job was like senior year, but then I was always like hustling, you know, flipping things on Craigslist, doing like those kinds of odd jobs to make money when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm always saying like, oh, you lived such a hard life, but you know, in the end, it made you who you are today. And you know, there's pros and cons of both like upbringing styles, but I'm always like joking and saying, but my parents raised me better. I'm always like, I had a better childhood than you. Sorry, that was a little harsh, but I'm always just like, I'm better than you. And Dave's like, no, I would disagree. Like, he thinks actually growing up in that kind of like tough environment, made him tough, and me like I'm like a bit weaker.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel that way. I kind of relate to Janice more, where I was the youngest and like a lot more sheltered, and I always think like, man, I wish I was kind of. I wish my parents raised me a little bit like tougher, and like they kind of taught me more things about like money and just like living life. It just makes things so much harder, and I'm so dependent on Josh.
That's what's the great thing about marriage, is that you have someone like me who can handle all the finances, and Janice can just and be her, clueless self. But enjoy life, bring joy to everyone around, and I'll do all the dirty work, and that's okay.
You guys are that couple. Have you guys seen that reel where it's like the guy, you guys are like a couple's walking, and the guy's like, okay, like if something happens, emergency exit is that way, like we go that way, and the girl's like, making my way downtown, walking fast. The girl.
Yeah, we've sent each other those reels like a bunch. Every time a different variant comes up, we send it to each other, because whenever we travel, that's exactly how it is. One time in Portugal, we caught someone pickpocketing me.
Oh yeah.
But it was just me. No one knew but me, because I was the only one who was like alert while we were walking down the street.
Yeah.
Wait, was Jay there too?
Jay was there too. He's just like Janice.
Shout out Jay.
That's why I love them both. They're the same. They get along really well in the areas that I don't like to be in. In Spain, they went and visited like some cute coffee shops together while I was just home chilling, resting. So.
Aww.
Yeah, Jay is David's best friend. Yeah, it worked out because we are very similar in certain ways, and then he and David are very similar in certain ways. But yeah, it's funny how different David and I are. We're so different. We're like complete opposites, but somehow it works very, very well.
And I relate too, because Josh and I are very different, and I feel like we're the same way. Josh is very like alert, cautious, like it's always taking care of business, and I'm just like do.
Speaking of Josh, we got to get that man on episode 2. No, come on.
I feel like he low-key wants to, but he's playing hard to get.
Come on, shy guy, Joshua. You have to, dude. Your husband's got to represent.
Because I feel like, David, you already have that like Instagram influencer thing going on, so you're very comfortable in front of the mic.
No, that's not true.
I will say, Josh surprises me sometimes. Like, throw back to KCN. Do you know that story, David, where like I was like, you don't have to audition if you want to. Like, I just kind of like want you to do it to support me. And he's like, dude, I really don't want to. And he showed up. Yeah.
Can you give some context as to what KCN is? Because some of our listeners, they might not know what KCN is.
Yes, it is. It's short for Korean Culture Night, and it's basically like a musical or a play that UCLA holds at Royce Hall every year.
Hot shot.
And when I was the assistant director, I asked Josh to audition because I was just kind of like asking people, like, just so that we have like a good pool of candidates to like choose from, and then also just to like support the director, And then I wasn't expecting anything from Josh. People who don't know Josh really well, like he comes off kind of like very stoic, like 말주변 없어. He doesn't really talk too much, and I don't know, he doesn't seem like the creative type, right? But then he showed up to the audition and he memorized everything. Like the monologue. The Donnie like threw the chairs, was so emotional. I was like, what?
Where is this coming from?
And then he became the main character of the play.
He was the lead that year.
1 year too from our church, they asked me and Josh to MC for like a married couples Christmas event.
Oh yeah.
And then, because it's like a married couples thing, they're kind of asking me because they knew like I emceed for weddings and just like my personality is like bubbly and stuff.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, like, Jess, can you MC? And I guess Josh too, because you guys are married. And then what ended up happening was like, I was so nervous. I couldn't really say much. And Josh MC'd the whole thing like a champ.
Wow.
And everyone was like so surprised.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the heck? Like he has the side, So Josh, if you're listening, come on.
He's coming on. He's coming on next week. I'm the boss. I make the rules.
I have a theory about this, which applies to people like me and Josh. It's like, you know, we're kind of haters a little bit. We are always like observing and not judging, but, you know, yeah, hating, judging a little bit, maybe a little bit.
You guys have opinions. You guys have
yeah,
opinions.
we're
Strong
opinionated.
Opinions.
That's what it is. Yeah,
Yes.
but people who do that, oftentimes they know like what's good. They can kind of spot quality. So I think because he's like that,
That's very true.
he was able to, you know, read the script and practice and do it in a way that was really good. You know, which is
That's
the same thing that I do with my content. Exactly, because I hate cringy influencer stuff too. So I try my best. I don't know if I'm fully successful, but I try my best not to be cringy, and I think it's I'm doing okay at it so far.
It's not cringy at all. Like, honestly, whenever you asked me that, I was so confused. I was like, why are you so concerned? It's like not cringy at all. It's actually like very, very genuine. Like, there are no frills, you know? I think what makes things cringy is like
you're not being yourself. You're not being authentic.
Yes, like it's like so fabricated, you know?
So David sometimes gives me TikTok ideas. He's like, oh, you should try this. You should try this. And like, it's funny because the ideas that he's given me have worked out really well. But some videos he tells me and I try to execute it. There have been a few videos where he's like cringing. And then I get so discouraged. So I never post them because he's judging me so hard.
Well, no, I think it's kind of like what Jess was saying. Like when you do some cringy things, it's because it's not you, you know? For example, before I started doing pizza videos, I wanted to make some form of videos. Like I wanted to post something. It was like one of my New Year's resolutions. And so I was kind of just, you know, spitballing, trying to think of ideas. And then we went to Costco and we found the Underwood Ranch Sriracha. Do you know it?
Really
Jess?
good.
Yes, the sriracha one.
Yeah. So basically, Sriracha's quality has been, the original one has been like going downhill. It's been tasting kind of funny. And then when I had that one, it just reminded me of when I first had the original Sriracha. It was so good. It had a kick to it. And I was like, man, I should make a video on this because it really is, you know, it's a problem that the old Sriracha is so crappy now. And then Janice was like, I'm going to do that. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then she recorded it. But she stole my idea, but she doesn't have any interest in this kind of thing. And so when I watched the video, I thought it was super cringe because it's just not her. It's just not her. But it did kind of well on YouTube, which is funny. But yeah, I think the name of the game is authenticity, just and being yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
The tone of the video was, is it just me or is this sriracha not good? Or like something like that.
You're acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like clearly, like, for those who know Janice, we know she doesn't care about sriracha. But she's like acting like, oh my gosh, like
it's true.
Sriracha taste is different.
Yeah. If you go back and watch that video, Janice is basically acting as me. Because that's like what I was saying. I was trying to help her with what to say, but that's her acting as me. So
riding his coattails.
Yeah.
What can I say?
I always say that Janice is like one of the funniest people that I've ever met. But when she tries to be funny, it's very bad. She's so unfunny when she tries. If she's trying to tell a story or make a joke, not always. It's a high chance of not cringe, but fail. It's just,
it's true.
It's not there. But when she's just being herself in her natural, comfortable habitat, she's hilarious.
That's like Janice dancing too. Because like she's such a good dancer. But when there's like structure and choreography involved, she panics. And her like groove and her, you know, like talent doesn't shine as much as it does when she's just doing like a freestyle dance.
I will say that like after the podcast, she's been getting better at telling stories and stuff.
Really?
So it's a plus. But also when we hang out with people, if I say something, if I say anything, right? If I say anything that gets a chuckle or a smile out of the other couple we're hanging out with, Janice goes, whoop, and she bookmarks it in her mind. And the next time we hang out with another couple, she tries to tell that story and get a laugh. And then if it's successful, she looks at me and she like goes, huh. But if it fails, if she failed the delivery, I look at her and I go,
You ruined my story.
I do that a lot. Yeah, I definitely steal a lot of David's jokes. But it feels so good when I get a good laugh. I just look at Dave. I look over at David, and he knows exactly what I'm thinking. Like, oh, I'm saving this joke, and I'm using this again and again, riding his coattails. I learned that from David.
It reminds me of that meme where it's like a dude, and the caption is me wondering like why my girlfriend got so funny all of a sudden, but then realizing that she's just actually stealing all my jokes.
Shifting gears here, I just want to talk about maybe first impressions, David. What were your first impressions of Jess and then me?
Oh, of me? I was expecting.
Both of us. We're the Honey Jam Pod. I don't know if you remember the first time you met Jess, David. I don't even know if I ever asked you this question before.
I think the first time we met was at like Eugene. No. The first time we met was like your story, Janice, when we met at our apartment.
Oh, that was the very first time we met
them. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, and then I started seeing David more because, GLMC, they both went to the same church, Josh and David. And then I feel like the second time I saw you was at Eugene and Sylvia's wedding. Do you remember that? You went there, right? Yeah.
I was there,
and then I just remember then, I don't know if that's when I started being like, I got my eye on this guy because like Janice was interested. But then there were like just small encounters with David. And it's so funny because I try to leave like a good impression on you so you could sense good vibes from Janice.
Yuck.
Do you remember that?
I remember feeling that.
Really? 역시. David has really like good nunchi. Like most guys, they wouldn't know, but David is actually very sensitive and very nunchi-so. So
he's good at reading people.
Yes. I remember like one specific time. This is when David was, I think, like a server at a pho place. And then Josh and I went, and this is when like we were trying to like, get David and Janice together. And like my impression of David was like, 너무 괜찮다. He's like, he's a good guy. Like he's tall, he's good looking, he's like loved by his friends. Like he's a hard worker. Like I think he'll match well with Janice. 나는 너무 좋았어, David, for Janice. And then, so I was trying like my best because I knew Janice was interested and we were trying to like get you guys to go on a date. I was trying so hard to like leave a good impression on David because David obviously knew that we were like good friends, best friends.
I do remember that.
I remember after we ate, I left a fat tip just so like, David feels appreciated. And like, he knows like, hey, we're not skimping out, we're good people here. We appreciate your service. So
wow. Yeah. Do you remember that, David?
I do. Of course. I remember all my friends who came through and left me big tips. I'm good at that. No, but yeah, I think my first impression, I don't remember the first time we like really met or sat down, but I think in the beginning it was a lot of like quick encounters. Just at the apartment or with Josh or randomly passing by somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I just thought Jess was really bubbly. And for me, at that time in my life, maybe it was a little too bubbly for me. I think at the time, I was just like really, really mellow and like I didn't like loud people or loud noises. I don't think you were loud, but you were like really bubbly and nice. And I just knew you as Josh's girlfriend at the time. And I mean, it was good. I mean, I thought it was just positive vibes overall. You know?
Yeah.
For me, maybe a little too bubbly thing was there, but in general, I thought you were really nice, and I thought Josh did a great job getting you.
I think I kind of like took up my bubbliness like up a notch just so I can impress you, but I quickly realize now that it had the opposite effect.
I mean, no, that was not a you problem; it was a me problem at the time. At the time, I was just a little bit darker and like That's what everyone tells me. After I started dating Janice, everyone says, wow, you got so bright. Oh, I've never seen you smile so much.
What can I say?
Shout out to Janice. And thank God we didn't meet in college because she would have definitely annoyed me and we would not be a thing.
Wow, really? You think so?
I don't know. I think
100%.
I tend to get what I want, and I think in college I would have wanted you if I saw David, you know, dribbling that ball up and down the court, you know, and then just shooting hoops. Oh yeah, I would have still felt the attraction. Whether you like it or not, David, we would have happened in college, okay?
This conversation, what Janice just shared, just reminded me of something that we discovered in our marriage. Basically, you know, with love languages, we always said that Janice was super high touch and words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And we always said, or Janice always said, that for me, words of affirmation and touch were like my last ones. I'm an acts of service guy, number one.
Yeah.
She's always like complaining why I don't hug her, why I don't cuddle with her more and stuff. But we realized recently that I actually really like touch. I'm a touch guy, in fact, I would say. But the issue is,
now be careful with the choice of words you use.
Yes, I can't use that word. She gets what she wants. And so when she wants to cuddle or something, she just, you know, without any boundaries, she just gets what she wants. And she grabs me and stuff, you know? It's very uncomfortable. And it's to the point where I have like actual trauma. Or like if she's coming towards me, I'll like flinch. I discovered this like in Mammoth, actually. And so I told Janice about it, and she was really good about like not doing that for a couple weeks. And it actually made a difference, right, Janice?
Yeah, he always uses the word, the R word, and he says, "Do you are me all the time?" And I'm like, dude, don't use that word. That is a very strong word. And no, I don't are you. You're my husband.
This is why Janice is so lucky that she's a woman. Because can you imagine this? She always says to me, like, you love it. Like, you're my husband. It's not R if you love it. Can you imagine if she was a dude saying that to a girl?
That's why I backed off. I realized it kind of clicked in my mind. I was like, oh, wow, actually, maybe I am, you know, overstepping boundaries. And so I've
too aggressive with it.
Yeah, maybe too aggressive, you know, when he's not feeling, you know,
super
touchy.
Aggressive. Not even like marriage, sexy time kind of touchy, but just like in general. She'll just like grab me and it's just, she'll like pinch my nipple or like.
Oh my God, Janice.
Okay, I don't pinch it. I just squeeze it slightly because it's like, you know, it's just fun. It's fun.
Yeah, maybe this will turn into a gangchu or something. But you know, if you're a couple and it feels a little like, you know, lopsided in terms of one person wanting touch and the other person not, you know, maybe reassess and look, is one person crossing boundaries, making it uncomfortable and just ruining that experience for the other person? Maybe. Since I communicated it, credit to Janice, it's been getting much better.
That's
there
right.
have been more hugs and more cuddles, right?
Yeah. Because you do in fact enjoy touch and like being cuddly.
Yeah.
It's just
I was just traumatized. Yeah.
This is a very good segue. You know, David and I, we are in kind of a unique living situation. So we lived in San Francisco when we first got married. And then we were there for 4 months as a married couple and then decided to come back home because of COVID. And we were like, okay, you know what? This is temporary. So let's just stay at my parents until COVID is over. Fast forward 4 years, we're still living with my parents. And a lot of questions that like couples ask us is, how the heck do you do it when you're living with your parents? And
starting off strong.
Yeah.
We get that question a lot. We just do it. We just do it silently. We do it when they're gone. We're a married couple. We could talk about this, right?
Oh, yeah. Come on now.
Wait, that's the main thing we're talking about for this topic?
Well, I wanted to lead into also not just that, but like what are other struggles that you go through? Yeah, living with my parents, your in-laws.
But I guess an icebreaker is like one of the harder things is, well, what people kind of like always ask about is like your sex life. Like how do you engage in that when your parents are literally home and you feel like teenagers?
Exactly.
Like, technically you're married and you can, but it's like also you can't do it as freely as you would want, you know?
We have to have a schedule. I say, hey, I'd like to make an appointment for tonight. And either David accepts or rejects. But usually I'm the one who makes the appointments.
You're
That's
the
not
one
true.
who requests. You request the appointment.
Mainly.
No, maybe like 70-30.
Oh, Janice is 70 though.
Yeah. I do make requests as well, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, of course. Of course.
I actually never felt that nervousness about it. Whenever we want to do it, we just do it. Hear me out here. Okay, so when we were dating, I lived in Irvine at the time. I was working in Irvine, and then Janice lived up here. So it was like an hour and a half, 75 miles. So sometimes I would sleep over, and then, we would hang out with the family or do something on the weekend. And then every time I would come sleep over, Janice's mom would be like, "Oh, you guys sleeping in bed together? I made the bed, so when you get tired, just go together." They would always ask Janice at the time, like, "What? You guys haven't had sex? Do you guys even love each other?"
Yeah.
And so whenever I came over, they were trying to get us to do it. So now that we are married and we're just like freely doing it, I'm just like, this is what you guys wanted, all right?
Yeah.
If you hear a little something, then whatever. We're trying to make some grandkids for you, all right? I don't care.
That's true. I will say that part is a little awkward where they're like, waiting for us to have kids, and every month, they know it's happening.
Wait, this is before you guys were married? Your mom would be like, "We made the bed."
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it happened one time.
Sorry, I remember the real story. Yeah. That story was we first started backpacking together at the same time. So for fun, I was like, "Hey, you have a grassy backyard. We should just do a practice night and camp out there."
Yeah.
But if you know the valley, it's extremely windy. So when we were trying to set up, it was really windy. So then her mom set up the whole bed with like the heated pad and everything, and was like, "Hey, when it gets cold, just come on in.
Sleeping
the bed's all ready."
Yeah, they're very progressive for sure. Very. It's weird though, because living with them, David realized they're still very Korean, but in certain ways they're not traditional, like with like sex before marriage. I think it was when we were engaged. I think not when we were just dating, but when we were engaged. First of all, I never talk about sex with my parents, but somehow we got to that topic, and they were just like horrified that we never had sex before marriage, or like while we were dating, and they were like questioning like our love for each other,
because they're like, how is that possible? Like,
yeah,
when two people love each other, like, you must, right? Yeah,
exactly.
Kind of
my dad was like, when I was your guys' age, your mom and I, we couldn't get our hands off. I'm like, okay, I don't want to hear that. So no discomfort there with the sex, huh, David?
If anything, it's my way of, letting out my frustrations, the in-law frustrations, Sometimes I'm just like, let's make a little extra noise today. They were kind of annoying to me. They made a little comment about something that I was doing. I'm just trying to live my life, so let me just make love to their daughter with some extra noise.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes we're not even doing anything, and he'll make a really loud, inappropriate noise. I'm like, dude, they're gonna.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, can you not? And it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. So to go back to your original question of like, how do we make it work just outside of the sex too? It's little things like that. I get back at them. I get my revenge with little things like that.
Yeah.
And also
so
her parents travel a lot. Janice's parents travel all the time, so
that's true.
We have the house to ourselves a decent amount too, which helps.
What would you say is like the most difficult thing then, like living with your in-laws for this long? What's the most of the AC?
Well,
actually, no, that's Janice.
That's a big one.
Yeah, Jess is talking about how I just refuse to let David turn on the AC in the house. I would say on average, our house in the summer is 82 degrees.
That's brutal, man. You're torturing the man.
When it hits 82, I'm like, okay, we can turn on the AC. I'll keep it at 79. And then it gets a little chilly, so then I'll turn it off. But I do feel bad because David runs very hot, and I don't know. My parents are really cheap about turning on the AC, and I think I just inherited that as well.
Just staying on this topic, Janice's parents have been a lot more chill in the past year or so, but like they always say to turn on the AC. It's Janice who doesn't want to do it because she's trying to play that middle person, and she thinks that her parents don't mean it when they say to turn on the AC, so we can't turn it on.
I see.
But this is one of my favorite things about social media is I shamed her on my story. It was like 85 degrees on the thermostat and Janice wasn't letting me turn it on. She just said like open the window and turn on a fan. And all her friends had my back and they're telling her, you know, that's not okay.
I was shocked.
We turn on the AC a little bit more now, so.
I'm sorry. You can turn it on whenever you want, David. I mean it. What's the hardest thing though?
Oh, these days? Okay. Well, the hardest thing, I mean, in general, for the first 2 years, they basically didn't like me.
Oh.
So, or maybe it wasn't that they didn't. Okay, yeah, they didn't like me, but also it was like they didn't really know me either.
Yeah.
So they kind of just didn't really trust that I was gonna be that great for Janice.
Mm-hmm.
They just let me marry her because Janice wanted to, basically. Living with them, that was one of the biggest benefits was like it sucked for 2 years probably. It was really, really bad. And Janice and I fought a lot. But then after they got to see me compared to some of the other people that they hear about, like I think just friends, kids, you know, I don't really go out and drink that much. Or now I really don't. But yeah, I don't smoke. I just like stay home and I cook. And so they're like, oh wow, David is so just like stable and he doesn't cause problems. He's someone that Janice can rely on. And then I think they realized that over the past couple years. So now they like me. So now it's much better.
They built that trust in you. Like they got to know you and now they're like, oh man, like David's such a good guy. And you know, you were there through the ups and downs and they're like, he's part of our family. And I feel like they needed that time to kind of realize that, right? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And now I've seen all the family drama. I've seen all the highs and lows. I know everything. So it's just like I've integrated into the Ha family. So now it's good. Also, we get to save a lot of money.
Oh, heck yeah, dude. I'm so jealous.
I'm a cheapo. I'm good with my money. Janice balanced me out in that regard also, just with like saving versus spending. But yeah, in general, we saved a ton of money from living here for 4 years. We still pay rent. And I always tell Janice, like, you know how much private chefs cost? Because we're always cooking for her parents. Yeah. We're paying rent and we're taking care of all the groceries for them. We watch the dogs. We watch the house. We take out the trash, do all the butler stuff. So I always say they should pay us.
You know, we're living in this house, this huge house. We have our own offices, and it sucks.
Yeah. Come on, Janice. David? Dude, imagine living with your in-laws and going through all that. I want to say, David, I've always been supportive of your woes.
Thank you. You have. I was going to say, just while we're here, let's talk about the pros. Like Janice said, there are a lot of benefits. Yeah, we have a big house with a backyard that they redid completely, but only I use for some reason. So I have a whole backyard to myself with my pizza oven. They have a large kitchen, so I have a little section with all my appliances, which would not fit in a smaller apartment that we would probably be in. Yeah. And then, what else? That's about it. Everything else, the food sucks here. It's really far.
It's hot. Wi-Fi sucks.
It's hot. It's windy. Wi-Fi sucks. Cell signal sucks. People here are great. The people that we met here are great. But yeah, obviously the pros are a little bit more at this point. We were able to save money. So like even now that I got laid off, it's not really a rush to like have to go back immediately. It lets me try out this video thing for a couple months. Lets us travel. So I mean, yeah, overall we're very thankful for the situation.
David.
I was gonna say it's kind of unique because like my parents definitely, like I always thought they were super chill. Like with my friends, they're super chill, super fun. But for I mean, it's not a weird reason. I'm their daughter, so they're very, you know, particular and strict towards David and my sister's husband. But they're not the easiest in-laws. They're very, very particular. They originally had very, very high and unrealistic expectations of David, I think, especially like living with him. And so I gotta give him some credit. And it's funny because usually it's the women who go through, you know, in Korean we call it the shi월드, right? Like living with the in-laws, like you know, dealing with difficult in-laws. But it's quite the opposite, like for me and David. David's parents are the chillest people I've ever met. Like his dad is so sweet. His mom is so sweet to me. Apparently very mean to David, but like to me, like they're
Well, I
so
can't
chill.
imagine.
I know, like super sweet, right? So when we get together, usually David is talking about his woes with his in-laws, with all the ladies, while I'm just kicking it with the boys, and I'm just like, I don't know what they're talking about.
It's the opposite. David is the 며느리, the 착한 며느리
Exactly.
Jeong.
Yeah. And just this is a really like short story too, but David is also very American, right? So he kind of had to adjust to like the Korean traditional expectations that my parents had. We don't really do it anymore, but we used to do like, you know, 아빠 숟가락, 엄마 숟가락, you know, like utensils for each person. So like my dad has like the golden spoon, you know, and then like one time David just grabbed the spoon from the drawer because he doesn't know that, you know, culture. I don't know. Have you heard of that, Jess?
Yeah.
Like, you know, mom and dad spoons.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has like a designated like silverware or like plate or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. That sounds like kind of very Korean culture. Yeah.
Yes. So then David just grabbed the spoon and then my mom's like, oh, no. That's appa spoon. You don't use that. And he's like, what the freak? It's just a spoon.
A spoon?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of understand, like, you know, we're all creatures of habit. So, like, if we're setting the table for the whole family and everyone has, like, a spoon, then fine. You know, fine. But, like, if I'm just going down for a snack and I grab a spoon, like, why can't I just grab what I want?
One thing that I remember you guys, like, sharing once was, like, whenever your dad comes back from, like, doing something outside, he expected David to, like, insa or, like, bow or, like, acknowledge him every time he comes back.
Yeah.
But it's like that too is very Korean, very traditional. Like, oh, 아버님 오셨어요, and like you go and like bow, right? But David's just like off to the side, like doing work or like, you know, his computer. Right. And he would acknowledge it like, oh, 안녕하세요, but like just from afar. And then he didn't like that, right? Because he wanted that like full on bow, like come up to me, acknowledge me, respect me. Right?
Yeah. I think part of the disconnect was that it was when remote work first started becoming a thing. So we're working from home all day, but they don't know what it is. So they don't really think we're working.
I see. Yeah.
So what they wanted was they wanted me to insa, or they wanted me to greet them first thing in the morning. So if I was working and they come out from their bedroom, they would want me to go out and to talk to them, go down, eat breakfast with them. And then if they're leaving for the day, say goodbye. When they come back, go down, greet them again. And then always at nighttime before I sleep, no matter where I am, even if I'm about to sleep, get up, go down, say goodnight, 안녕히 주무세요, and then come back up. So like, that's just a little too much for me. It's like, I'm not going to avoid them. If I see them, of course, I'm going to greet them. But I'm not trying to stop my work to go down, you know, for like 5 times a day to do this.
Yeah.
So Janice has kind of lessened up on it. You know, she's more chill about it. She still sometimes will pull the whole like, David, I'm thirsty. You want to go down and get water with me? But really, she just wants me to go down and say goodnight to her parents.
Good night.
So we still do that sometimes, which is fine.
I feel like that's where like you are very American, David, because for me, my 어머님 stayed with us while taking care of Hui for for about 8 months. Granted, our house is like a lot smaller, so like I kind of have to acknowledge every time like I see her and stuff. But I feel like me and Janice, like we're more used to that, right? Like 무조건 if there is an adult, like 인사하고, like just every time acknowledge, right?
Right.
But then American culture and just like if you're not used to that, like it's so bizarre. Like why? Why do I have to go out of my way and like do that? Like it's really weird, but it's part of Korean culture. Like you know,
it happens a lot. And honestly, I still wish David would do it. But I've learned to like let go of certain things, you know, fight my or pick my battles. But it's funny because like he'll be in his boxers, like ready to sleep. I'm like, David, can we go downstairs to say goodnight? He's like, are you kidding me? I'm literally in my underwear. I'm not gonna wear pants and a t-shirt just to go down to say goodnight. And I'm like, okay, maybe that's okay. I'll let that go. One habit that I also used to have before, it lessened a lot, but when David and I would go travel or like away from home for like a few days even, I had a habit of just calling my parents, just updating them every single time, you know, like at least calling them like 2 times a day, you know, just letting them know like, oh, like, you know, we arrived, or we did this today, and like send them photos and stuff like that. David, his parents don't even know where we are like half the time. Like they don't know because David just never like updates them. And so like he got like kind of frustrated. He's like, dude, you have to call your parents like 5 times a day. Like seriously, like what is wrong with you? Like they don't have to know everywhere we're going. I'm like, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just nice. They want to know, and it's not a habit. And he's like, dude, I bet like nobody does this like you. And I was like, I think June does. Shout out to June. I'm pretty sure June thinks this is normal too. He's like, no way. He texts June, and June's like, yeah, that's pretty normal, dude. David's like, oh, okay, just me then.
He said, dude, I'm the wrong person to ask. Yes.
Yeah.
He does it too.
Yeah.
It's like, we weren't even on a trip. It was when we first moved in together in San Francisco. Janice would be calling her parents for updates, and then they call her a lot too. So it was actually like 4 or 5 times a day. Crazy amounts.
I mean, it was like, you know, moving to a new city. They want to know what's up. I got to give them the deets.
How old were we at the time? We were like 27. Come on.
You know, but I will say, this is something my sister-in-law Rachel said. She said it's important to like set those boundaries. If you call them all the time, like, you know, 4 or 5 times a day, that becomes like the expectation. And then if you don't meet that, then they're gonna be disappointed, you know? And also it's like, it's so hard, like for David, for you sometimes to like always update them. She said she was trying to do that with her mom, my mother-in-law. And I was like, oh, maybe I should kind of take that advice too.
Another struggle that we had was kind of like with even my grandparents in Korea, and my dad's side at that, actually. David, do you remember when we were trying to get married? My precious, my lovely grandma, I love her so much. David, take it away.
I love her as well. Janice's grandparents are the best. But it's just that they're really into the whole like shaman thing where they go talk to some lady and give them my birth date and time and Janice's birth date and time to see if we're compatible. And then her grandma went and she was like, oh, actually, you know, what was it? June is not a good month to get married for these two. You guys should push it to September of next year. You should wait. Yeah. So like that kind of stuff. That was, I mean, moving the whole wedding for that was the only part that like actually caused trouble between us. But other than that, the other ones, she's been more like, hey, I know you don't really believe this stuff, but this is what I heard. So, you know, do with this information what you will. But it was just the wedding one where she was like pretty firmly trying to get us to move our dates.
Yeah.
Did you guys end up postponing it then?
Well, we had to because of COVID, thankfully.
It's funny because like last month, my grandma called me and she knows that we've been trying to get a baby for a while. David, what did she say?
I don't remember exactly what she said, but basically she said the best time for you to get a baby or something is when you're like 38. And I was like, excuse me, Grandma, why would you put that out there into this universe?
Yeah, and she was like, you know, I know you're Christian, you don't believe this, but just heed this advice. She said good news will come in September or October. She worked on it.
This October?
I don't know. That's what's confusing. She was like, October, something good will happen, but also it's good for you to get pregnant by 38. She's a very gullible, superstitious woman, but you know, it comes from a good place. Like but it's so funny because she was just like, you don't have to believe this, but you know, I spent good money to get this advice, so just heed it.
But you guys, like, it's actually the opposite. Like, you guys have to like try now, like, because your time is ticking, right?
Yeah.
So our faith is greater than the shaman's advice.
Yeah.
Amen.
Our faith is greater, but if we get a baby when we're 38, I don't know, that's gonna shake my faith like super hard.
Dude. And I don't know, if something does happen in October, that would be crazy too.
And that 1 in 12 chance, that's like whatever.
How has that been, like, navigating that? Because like, I know this is a little bit serious too, but you know, we're a pod. We talk about a lot of things.
That's
and I feel like this is a real one that a lot of people can relate to. Just like, you know, you guys have been trying for a while now, and like you see people, you know, putting up their pregnancy posts and all of that. Like, how has that been for you guys? Like, are you like, I know you guys are genuinely happy, but like also like, what is the struggle that's going on like in your hearts, and like with each other, I guess.
It's a deep question, Jess. David shared a little bit. I was like getting pretty sad, but I think because, you know, Honey Jam and like, it's really for people who are listening and who are trying and, you know, are in the same boat as us, you know, haven't been able to get a baby just quite yet. I would highly encourage like starting a hobby. I think that really helped me not be distracted, but just like not focus so much, stress so much on just like one goal, which is to get a baby, you know. Working on Honey Jam and then just like posting casually on socials and stuff like that, I think that has been keeping me busy and like my mind off of it. So I'm like less sad about it. But obviously I get frustrated too because, you know, I'm a very healthy individual, David as well. So I'm like, what is wrong? Like, why is this not happening for us? You know, that's the extent. But I know like there's a certain point where people like get so sad that they can't celebrate with others. I'm definitely not there. Thank God. I mean, I feel like it's too soon to be there right now, but that's where I'm at. I think I'm very thankful for our lives right now, but that's what I'm trying to do a little bit more, just trying to be more thankful for my current state without like, you know, yearning for just a baby and all these things, because I feel like if I do that, like I'll miss out on a lot too.
It's been hard for sure, but I mean, I always wanted kids for a while. Like I wanted them pretty much as soon as we got married, but Janice wasn't ready at the time. So I mean, it sucks, but we have no diagnosis, which is the annoying part. Like Janice said, they just call it unexplained fertility because we're both healthy, eggs are healthy, sperm's healthy, but it's just like we don't, or the science isn't developed enough to be able to pinpoint what's going on. So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know. So that part is frustrating, but yeah, I mean, keeping ourselves busy. I think we're pretty good at like frequently staying grounded and remembering all the blessings we have. So like, yeah, same for me. I haven't had a problem with celebrating other people's babies yet. I could totally see like, I mean, I don't know, 13 years or, you know, 10 years, whatever. Right now I feel like we still just started, you know, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So who knows what'll happen when it's like 5-10 years, if that happens. But for now, it's fine. We're chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah, still happy and just like trying to continue living our lives outside of that. The reason why, you know, we want kids the most is because of like Hui and Maddie, like our close friends who have kids. We wish they could grow up together, but you know, it is what it is. Hui will be a good older sibling for our kid.
You're godchildren. We and Maddie, godchildren.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
I'm praying for you guys. I just want to end it there. I'm always praying for the Jeongs.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Shall we go into our Gangchu corner?
Yes.
For those of you who are new to season 2, Gangchu is a strong recommendation that we give to our listeners. I think David came with a Gangchu this week. David, would you like to share yours?
Yes, my Gangchu is to make some videos.
Oh.
You never know where it's going to go. You never know what's going to happen. And if you've ever had that, just the little inkling, you know, tiniest bit of interest, just try it. You know, you never know what's going to happen. Maybe try 20 videos. 20 videos, see where it goes. Hit me up because I need some other content creators to you know, have a support group. I'll tell you if you're cringe and you could tell me if I'm cringe.
David alone, I can name like at least like 5 people he has convinced to make content, me included. Like you are an inspirational speaker for, you know, making content.
Oh, I have something to add on, which was that not most, but so many people I've talked to have thought about it at some point. They're just too scared, you know? So just suck it up. Just post one.
Guys, that was so much fun. How was the return of season 2? What do you guys think?
Like, aren't you guys supposed to give Gangchus or no?
No. We're just gonna ask our guests.
This episode is long enough.
Oh, really?
Although we do have Gangchu.
Okay.
What?
I have to say this, actually. I will say one Gangchu. And this is a long episode, but you know, we're having a good time. Earlier, we were talking about KCN, right? Korean Culture Night. So when Jessica was the assistant director, and any UCLA student could audition for this production, right? So I decided to audition on that year. And Jess, being the associate director, she had to be at the auditions. And she was actually sitting in as a counterpart for the auditioning people. And obviously, she knew that I was like, practicing my script all week long. I knew that she was going to be there. And she even like practiced with me. And so I was like, okay, I got this. I got this. We get to the audition and I do my first script. I do okay. The second script, like it completely break character because we can't stop laughing and we're just like cracking up. And it's so funny because you could see Jess like trying so hard to hold her laugh. And Jess has that video and we were watching that recently. At first I was like, oh my gosh, it's so cringe. This whole situation, like me trying to act all serious is cringe. Jess trying to be a serious assistant director is cringe. But then we looked at it and we're like, you know what? It's actually kind of beautiful. We were so young back then. All of a sudden we were watching the video so fondly, like, oh, the good old days. Because it's like, almost 10 years ago. And so watching that and talking about that, it reminded me of a quote from one of my favorite dramas, one of Jessica's favorite dramas called 역도 여왕 김복주.
What is it in English?
Weightlifting fairy 김복주. Shout out to Jane. I specifically want to call out Jane because she's the one who recommended that drama to me, and I first like doubted her, but then I ended up loving the drama. And the quote goes like this: 서툴러서 더 아름다운 반짝반짝 빛나는 시절이 있다. 가진 게 없어서 두려운 게 없고 뭐든 가질 수 있어서 설레는 지금 24살 청춘 나는 여전히 불완전하지만 이미 더없이 완벽하다.
I don't know what that means, but
you translate that, Jess?
It's just basically talking about how when you're in your youth, you're not perfect, but within that imperfect self, you see the beauty of your youth. And I'm butchering it, but
no, it's just perfect.
It made us think about like our audition because at first we're like, oh my God, we're so cringe, like we're so young, like we're so lame. But then when you kind of like look at it from that lens, like, oh my gosh, just the fact that we're like trying so hard and even though we're kind of cringe, that's so beautiful and like we're so passionate about it, and like that made me like really like look at it differently, like, oh man, like I missed that time when I was so young and so passionate about something,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I actually thought that video was hilarious. I didn't think it was cringe at all. And I have a very sensitive cringe meter, and I didn't think it was cringe. So
well, I'll share it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that goes back to my Kangchu. Make some videos because you think it's cringe, but it's actually not. It's actually really good. Really funny.
Full circle right there.
Okay, I will definitely be sharing that video with our Honey Jam followers. I guess that it wasn't really a Kangchu. It was more of like a quote of the day.
Dude, I love that, Janice. You sounded like a radio host when you're reading it.
Really?
That's so good. Yeah.
Okay, you guys, I think we can wrap it up here. David, thank you so much for hopping on.
Thanks, David.
Thanks for having me.
I love you.
I got a taste of the aggressive aggressive affection.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.